It was 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I was sitting in a cafe surrounded by the digital shrapnel of my day. My laptop screen was a mosaic of a half-written email, a spreadsheet I was supposed to be analyzing, and about 17 browser tabs, all promising to make me more productive. My phone was buzzing on the table with Slack notifications, and I had one AirPod in listening to a podcast about focus, of all things. I felt completely drained, like my brain had run a marathon and come in last. Then I noticed the guy at the table next to me. He was probably in his late 60s, and he was doing something almost revolutionary. He was reading a book, a physical paper book. There was no phone in sight, no laptop, no frantic energy, just him, a cup of tea, and the pages. And the strange thing was he looked energized, calm, present, and completely absorbed. And that's when it hit me with the force of a genuine revelation. Looking from my chaotic digital world to his quiet analog one, I realized the problem wasn't my energy levels. I wasn't suffering from chronic fatigue or a caffeine deficiency. I was suffering from fragmentation. The exhaustion I felt wasn't a sign that my brain was empty. It was a sign that it was just too full, running a dozen different programs at once. What if this feeling we all call being tired is actually the biggest misdiagnosis of our time?
Wow. That's a profoundly resonant observation. It really taps into a wider, almost universal phenomenon we're all experiencing, I think.
Right. It felt so clear in that moment.
Absolutely. Your personal moment in the cafe isn't just an isolated anecdote. It's really a symptom of how our modern digital lives are subtly yet powerfully impacting our minds and bodies in quite surprising ways.
Yeah.
It feels like we're all sensing this pull, this sense of being perpetually stretched thin. And it's something we absolutely need to understand at a much deeper level.
I couldn't agree more. And that right there, that's the core mission of our deep dive today. We're going to dive headfirst into uncovering the true sources of this modern tiredness, which, as I've recently come to realize, might be a profound misdiagnosis for many of us. We're not just looking at what this digital fatigue is, but fundamentally why it's happening. We'll be drawing on a fascinating array of perspectives, everything from the latest neuroscience research to practical insights from corporate wellness programs, and even delving into the unique challenges this poses for families navigating the digital age.
Yeah, that family angle is crucial too.
Definitely. So our overarching question for you, our listener, is how do we navigate this digitally saturated world without feeling constantly drained, without feeling like our brains are simply fried? Okay, let's unpack this.
The great misdiagnosis, why our brains feel fried but aren't really tired.
So let's really dig into this opening idea, this profound shift that suggests our current exhaustion epidemic isn't fundamentally about a lack of physical sleep, but rather about deeply, profoundly scattered attention. It's a concept that completely rewired my own thinking.
It's a big shift in perspective, for sure.
It really is. When you cast your mind back to our ancestors, their lives, though challenging, they had these incredibly natural rhythms of attention. Imagine them. Spending hours intensely focused on hunting a mammoth, right? Every sense attuned to the environment.
Total focus.
Or meticulously gathering specific berries one by one for a meal. Or maybe engaging in an evening of uninterrupted storytelling around a fire, completely absorbed. There were these periods of intense singular focus, followed by genuine, uninterrupted rest. Their brains weren't constantly being pulled in a million different conflicting directions.
A very different attentional landscape.
Completely different. But fast forward to our modern lives, and it's a totally different story, isn't it? Our mornings often start with 17 notifications buzzing before our feet even hit the floor.
Oh, yeah. Before coffee, even.
Exactly. We might check the news while brushing our teeth, try to listen to a podcast on our commute while half scrolling through social media, respond to emails during a meeting where we're also supposed to be paying attention.
The classic half listening in meetings, yeah.
And then find ourselves trying to watch Netflix at night while simultaneously checking work Slack on our phones. We've essentially turned our brains into these endlessly overloaded circuits.
That's a good way to put it. Overloaded circuits.
That fuzzy, zoned out feeling where it's harder to think clearly, focus, or even remember simple things. The symptom we call tiredness or brain fog is, I'm convinced, actually a manifestation of pure cognitive chaos. We feel drained, not necessarily because we've worked too hard in one specific focused area, but because we've been trying to do a dozen things all at once all the time. It's like running 100 short sprints instead of one long marathon.
That analogy of running 100 short sprints is incredibly apt. And if we connect this to the bigger picture of how our brains actually work, the neuroscience behind what we so casually call multitasking is really quite illuminating.
Okay, yeah, tell us about that.
Well, true multitasking in the way many of us imagine it, and handling multiple complex cognitive tasks simultaneously with equal efficiency simply doesn't exist in the human brain.
Really? Doesn't exist?
Not in that pure sense, no. What we refer to as multitasking is, in reality, rapid task switching. Think of your attention like a powerful spotlight.
Okay.
Every time you shift that spotlight from one thing to another, say, from an email to a spreadsheet, from a meeting to a notification, there's a brief moment of darkness, a tiny hiccup. Neuroscientists call this a cognitive transition cost.
A cognitive transition cost.
I like that term.
Yeah, and you might not consciously notice this happening once or twice, but when you do it hundreds or even thousands of times a day, that constant switching incurs this cumulative cost that truly drains your mental batteries.
Ah, so that's why.
This is precisely why someone can spend a full 8 hours working, yet accomplish very little of substance and still feel utterly exhausted at the end of the day. You weren't engaging in deep, sustained work. You were constantly changing channels, paying that invisible transition cost over and over again.
Constantly changing channels.
Wow. It's like driving a car and constantly shifting between first and fifth gear. It's just inefficient and incredibly draining on the engine,
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. And it brings up a really counterintuitive piece of research that frankly blew my mind. We often feel like intense thinking must be burning a huge amount of energy, right?
That's the common assumption, yeah.
I mean, the brain is this incredibly important organ. It accounts for about 2% of our body weight, but ravenously uses around 20% of our body's total energy, even when we're just passively sitting there.
It's an energy hog, for sure.
So my gut tells me that when we're truly engaged in really complex cognitive tasks, like deep problem solving or grappling with a brand new intricate concept, it must be using significantly more energy, right? That feeling of exhaustion, that my brain is fried sensation, must surely be from our brain running on empty, or so I thought.
It's fascinating because the research tells us something genuinely surprising about that perceived energy expenditure. Studies have actually found only about a 5% uptick in energy use during even the most complex cognitive tasks compared to when the brain is at rest.
Only 5%, that's it.
That's it. So while you certainly feel fatigued, that feeling isn't due to a massive, quantifiable energy depletion in the way your muscles might deplete glycogen after a marathon.
Okay, so what is it then?
Instead, it's a result of multiple complex processes within the neural networks and a temporary dip in the optimal functioning of certain neurons, essentially. Those neurons are signaling that they've been pushed hard, that they've been overused.
I think they're just saying, enough already.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's like a tired muscle saying, okay, I need a break, even if it hasn't actually run out of fuel. Our brain is, in fact, always active, even when we're doing absolutely nothing.
Right, the default mode network.
Exactly. It's constantly engaging in what we call the default brain network, which is essentially our brain's active resting state, the mental space for things like daydreaming, planning, and reflecting. Cognitive activity isn't so much about dramatically increasing total energy consumption, but more about efficiently shifting the way different parts of the brain engage and allocate resources.
Shifting, not just increasing.
Precisely. And a disruption of this delicate balance, where the brain can't efficiently shift its engagement or recover, that can actually be indicative of cognitive decline or even certain neurological diseases.
Wow.
It's also worth noting, just to put it into broader perspective, that even the body's overall energy usage is surprisingly similar between sedentary and active populations. So while thinking certainly makes us feel tired and worn out, it genuinely won't burn many calories.
Okay, good to know. So much for thinking my way thin.
Afraid not. You'll definitely need to find other ways to lose weight.
That's such a critical distinction, though. So if it's not simply about raw energy depletion, how can we, as listeners, truly tell the difference between genuine physical tiredness and this attention fatigue or cognitive overload? Because the symptoms can feel so incredibly similar, it's remarkably easy to misdiagnose ourselves, right? To assume we just need more sleep when what we really need is something else.
It is absolutely crucial to distinguish between the two for effective self-management and to find the right solutions. Real tiredness, that deep restorative kind, it has distinct and recognizable characteristics.
Like what?
You'll often feel a physical heaviness in your limbs, a natural, uncomplicated desire to genuinely rest. After a day of true physical exertion or productive, focused work, you often feel a deep sense of satisfaction from your efforts, a feeling of having earned your rest.
That's satisfied exhaustion.
Exactly. And perhaps most tellingly, when you lie down, you're genuinely able to fall asleep relatively easily. It's a deep physical exhaustion that truly craves stillness and recovery.
Right, like after a really long, challenging hike or a physically demanding day of moving furniture that kind of earned exhaustion. Makes sense.
Exactly. Now compare that to false tiredness, what we're calling attention fatigue or cognitive overload. This feels profoundly different. You experience a restless mental energy despite feeling physically exhausted. Your body might be screaming for rest, but your mind is still buzzing, often with fragmented thoughts or an endless to-do list.
Oh, I know that feeling. Wired but tired.
Precisely. You might find yourself craving more stimulation, even when you're technically resting, like picking up your phone immediately after finishing a task or scrolling through social media while trying to watch TV.
Guilty.
There's often a deep frustration with low productivity, even though you feel incredibly busy and are constantly on all day. And perhaps the most telling sign is lying in bed at night with a racing mind, unable to quiet your thoughts and fall asleep, even though your body is screaming for rest.
Ugh, yes. The worst.
So if that second list resonates more strongly with your daily experience, you're very likely not truly tired in the traditional sense. You're cognitively overloaded. Your brain is exhausted from the switching, not necessarily from the doing.
That distinction is everything. Okay, that really clarifies things.
Reclaiming focus in the workplace strategies for digital wellness.
As I've been exploring this concept of digital fatigue and our modern scattered brains, it quickly became clear that this wasn't just a theoretical problem, it's profoundly impacting real people's lives. And some of the stories I encountered really put a human face on these concepts. I came across a few stories online that really put a human face on these concepts. Let's start with Anya.
Okay.
She's a project manager in a bustling tech firm in London. We'll call her Anya. She was, by all accounts, the quintessential star employee, always on, always connected, a master of the modern hybrid work model. Her life was just this relentless, constant stream of notifications. Teams, messages, Slack pings, emails cascading in, calendar alerts demanding attention.
It's familiar. Very familiar.
Totally. She often lived on espresso shots, relentlessly chasing productivity, but what she felt beneath it all was a rising tide of anxiety and this persistent, humming exhaustion that no amount of coffee could truly cure.
The caffeine just papers over the cracks, doesn't it?
Exactly. Her company, almost as a side note, introduced a session on mindfulness as part of a new wellness initiative. Anya was deeply skeptical, writing it off as just another piece of corporate fluff. You know, a tick box exercise for HR.
Yeah, I can see why she'd think that.
But then one afternoon, feeling utterly overwhelmed and frayed before a major client pitch that she absolutely couldn't afford to mess up, she remembered the simple 2-minute breathing exercise they'd taught. She closed her laptop, shut her eyes, and just focused on her breath. In, out. For 2 very long, intentional minutes. The world, of course, didn't stop. Her inbox didn't magically empty itself.
Right.
But something profound happened. The frantic buzzing noise in her head, that constant internal chatter, it quieted. She opened her eyes, not with a jolt of caffeine, but with this surprising sense of calm clarity.
Wow. Just from 2 minutes.
Just 2 minutes. It was a revelation. From that day on, she started using this tiny ritual as a buffer before big meetings, after lunch when the afternoon slump hit, whenever the digital noise became too loud. It wasn't a silver bullet for her demanding job, but it became her anchor.
An anchor. That's a great word for it.
She was still incredibly busy, but she was no longer drowning in the overwhelm. Anya's 2 minutes wasn't just a quick fix. It was about creating a tiny, repeatable disruption, a micro reset button in the middle of chaos.
Her story is so powerful, and it really highlights that integrating mindfulness into the workplace isn't just about offering corporate fluff, as Anya initially feared. This raises an important question.
Yeah.
How can organizations truly take responsibility for the digital fatigue their own systems impose? Anya's experience demonstrates that even a practical 2-minute tool can profoundly empower employees to manage the very real cognitive load they face daily.
It's empowering, definitely.
It really is. It's a small yet incredibly significant acknowledgement of the pervasive digital fatigue that modern work environments often create. By providing such accessible, evidence-based tools, companies can proactively foster a culture that genuinely supports mental health, enhances focus, and ultimately helps their people thrive, moving beyond simply expecting employees to cope with the onslaught on their own.
Right, it's shared responsibility.
Exactly. It's a foundational step towards genuine digital well-being in the workplace.
And when we talk about that onslaught, it's incredibly useful to pinpoint the common culprits causing these pervasive productivity drains in the digital workplace. Let's break them down. First up, email and communication apps. This is a big one.
Oh, absolutely. The inbox tyrant.
Totally. The startling statistic is that the average worker spends 3 or more hours per day just managing emails, Slack messages, Teams chats, and other digital communications.
3 hours. That's staggering.
Think about that for a moment. In a standard 8-hour workday, this means a little more than half the day is essentially devoted to focused, uninterrupted work. That's a huge amount of time lost to communication management alone, not to mention the constant context switching it demands.
Yeah, the switching cost again, it all connects.
Then there are our ubiquitous cell phones and social media. The average person spends about 2 hours a day checking social media, and a significant portion of that isn't on their own time.
The scroll hole.
Exactly. What starts as a quick peek at Facebook or Instagram, a 5-second break, can rapidly lead to mindless scrolling, reading, clicking, and sharing that just devours a significant chunk of the workday. In fact, studies show workers spend around 42 minutes per day handling purely personal tasks on their phones while at work.
Wow.
And can waste as much as 2 hours of their workday on their phones for personal use. It's not just the active use either. Even just having your cell phone in sight is distracting.
Just seeing it pulls your attention.
Yeah. With a phone in arm's reach, it's an almost irresistible temptation to check messages or social media and fall down that rabbit hole of unproductiveness.
Out of sight, out of mind is really true there.
Definitely. Beyond that, we have background noise and constant interruptions. Whether you're on a video conference trying to concentrate in an open plan office, or even working solo from home, any interruption to your flow can powerfully pull your focus. A notification chime, someone walking into the office or your home office, even background chatter from family or roommates.
Yeah, the open office plan, a notorious focus killer.
Right. And here's the kicker, the truly painful part. It takes about 23 minutes for your brain to refocus entirely after an interruption.
23 minutes. Seriously.
So multiply that cognitive lag by the number of interruptions you face per day. And it's easy to see why productivity suffers so dramatically and why you feel so drained.
It adds up incredibly fast. No wonder we're exhausted.
And finally, in a paradoxical twist, work itself can be distracting. It's a real head scratcher, isn't it?
How so? Work distracting from work.
Yeah. Our digital workplaces rely heavily on software and apps, but constantly toggling between too many of them leads to lower productivity and what's now widely called app fatigue.
App fatigue, I've heard that.
Data shows the average employee uses 28 different apps to do their work, often having at least 5 open at any given time, and frequently switching between 5 to 10 different apps every single hour.
28 apps. That's just wow. It's truly a gauntlet of never-ending distraction, 1,000 tiny attention leaks throughout the day.
Exactly. So given this veritable gauntlet of digital noise and distraction, how do we push back? How do we create moments for true deep focus? It's about transitioning from simply identifying the problem to implementing genuinely actionable solutions, both as individuals and as organizations.
Right, solutions are key.
One of the first, most fundamental steps is to change the way technology is used, adopting an approach of intentional technology use. This means rethinking the specific software, apps, and devices we rely on. Is every app truly necessary, or are some of them redundant, just sitting there adding to the visual clutter and temptation?
The digital Marie Kondo approach.
Aha, exactly. Getting rid of those redundant apps can be a surprisingly effective first step. For example, I've seen some companies experimenting with devices that actively block out background noise and visual distractions in video conferences, allowing participants to focus solely on their conversations and collaborate on screen instead of constantly switching devices or getting lost in their own virtual backgrounds. This can make meetings much more seamless and, importantly, stress-free.
That sounds really useful. Technology fighting technology's distraction.
Right. Another crucial strategy is simply removing physical sources of distraction. This could involve updating workplace technology policies to allow phones only during designated breaks, or for those working from home, recognizing the immense benefits of creating a dedicated, truly distraction-free environment.
The dedicated workspace is huge, yeah.
Minimizing unnecessary communication is also absolutely key. Instead of constantly monitoring your inbox, feeling compelled to respond to every ping instantly, try setting specific, scheduled times to check emails each day, maybe once in the morning, again after lunch, and finally before you log off for the day.
Batching emails, classic but effective.
Totally. Similarly, holding meetings only when they are absolutely essential and setting clear, realistic expectations for how quickly team members should respond to non-urgent communications can dramatically reduce that constant waiting for a reply anxiety that keeps our brains on high alert.
Setting those expectations is vital for team sanity.
And critically, we absolutely need to schedule dedicated time for deep focus. This means proactively blocking out specific, uninterrupted periods in your day away from cell phones, meetings, and other constant interruptions.
Time blocking for deep work.
Yes. For complex, creative tasks that require genuine cognitive effort, giving your full, undivided attention produces significantly better, higher quality results. Don't just hope it happens, make it happen. Notify your team that your time is blocked out, turn off your email notifications, and if you can, physically hide your phone.
Hide the phone, yeah.
With fewer distractions, you can finally truly focus on the work that matters most.
Building on that, it's intriguing how these practical strategies tap into fundamental principles of attention and productivity that are backed by research. Let's delve into a few of those. The power of breaks, for instance, is often underestimated, but it's incredibly potent.
Right, taking breaks actually helps.
Absolutely. Studies consistently show that taking regular, intentional breaks from work can actually make us more productive. They allow our minds to clear and reset, especially when we're stuck on a particular problem or feeling mentally fatigued.
Hi.
A classic, highly effective example of this is the Pomodoro method. You work for, say, 20-25 minutes with intense, singular focus, followed by a short 5-10-minute break.
A timer method, yeah.
You repeat this cycle a few times, then take a longer break of 15-20 minutes. The key during your break time is to be active and genuinely distract your brain from the work. Stand up, stretch, grab a glass of water, look out the window so you can come back feeling genuinely refreshed and ready to re-engage. It's about creating a true mental pause.
A real reset, not just switching to another screen.
Exactly. Another powerful tactic is using distraction tools and apps themselves. While some apps are clearly designed to be distracting, others are specifically built to remove distractions and help you stay on track.
Like focus apps.
Right. Tools like Focus, Me, Serene, or Forest can be incredibly helpful for boosting productivity by allowing you to block specific websites or helping you plan and time your work sessions to stay on track. Similarly, a simple change of scenery can be a surprising productivity booster.
Moving around helps.
It often does. What's distracting for one person might be an ideal, stimulating setting for another, so experimenting is key. Try a local coffee shop if you thrive on ambient noise, a quiet corner in a co-working space, or simply a different area in your home or office. Sometimes, just switching up your environment often works best to refresh your perspective.
Makes sense. Shake things up a bit.
And one of the simplest, yet most profoundly effective methods is simply to turn off devices or disable notifications altogether. If turning off an entire device isn't an option during your focus time, silencing notifications ensures you won't be tempted to respond to every single ping or alert. You won't even know they're there until you consciously decide it's time to check.
The power of the off switch.
Indeed. This ties into the broader habit of setting clear, actionable goals to develop a stronger work ethic and a more focused approach. By choosing how much you want to accomplish each day and knowing your workload in advance, you naturally leave less time available for technology distractions. This takes practice and discipline, of course. But the more you set goals and stick to them, the easier it becomes to stay focused. Finally, consider doing a time audit.
A time audit? What's that involve?
This is an in-depth review of how you actually use your time in a given period. It involves keeping a detailed log of all your tasks, how long they take, and meticulously noting any downtime or breaks you take.
So like tracking everything.
Pretty much. By doing this, you can get a remarkably clear, honest picture of where your productivity might be leaking or where your attention is being diverted. This then allows you to identify what to cut out, what to spend less time on, and what might require more of your focused attention to optimize your time effectively.
That sounds potentially confronting.
It can be.
Yeah.
But it's incredibly eye-opening. If your work varies from day to day, conduct these audits daily for a week or two to find consistent patterns in how your time is spent.
Okay, that's a powerful tool. Those are fantastic individual and team level tactics, all of them so actionable. But what about integrating mindfulness more broadly into corporate wellness programs? How can organizations leverage something like mindfulness to address this on a systemic level, moving beyond individual coping mechanisms to a true culture of well-being?
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, integrating mindfulness into corporate wellness programs offers a truly comprehensive approach to enhancing both employee well-being and overall organizational productivity. The benefits, when implemented effectively, are quite significant. Well, mindfulness practices, such as meditation and deep breathing exercises, are demonstrably effective in reducing stress, which is a common precursor to burnout and a major cause of decreased productivity in the workplace. By promoting relaxation and mitigating the physiological effects of chronic stress, mindfulness not only improves mental health but also boosts overall job satisfaction.
Less stress, more satisfaction. Makes sense.
It also has a profound positive impact on mental health itself, with regular practice linked to reduced symptoms of anxiety and depression. This fosters a more supportive, resilient environment where mental well-being is genuinely prioritized, not just discussed.
Good for the individual, good for the team.
Absolutely. Furthermore, mindfulness measurably enhances cognitive function, improving crucial skills like sustained attention, working memory, and decision-making abilities. Employees who regularly practice mindfulness are better equipped to handle complex tasks, make more informed decisions under pressure, and maintain focus throughout the workday, ultimately leading to increased efficiency and higher quality work output.
So better thinking, better focus.
Exactly. Beyond individual benefits, mindfulness profoundly fosters better interpersonal relationships by promoting empathy, active listening, and emotional intelligence. This naturally leads to more effective communication, reduced conflict, and stronger, more cohesive team connections.
Better teamwork, too.
And finally, by encouraging employees to be present and open-minded, it can significantly enhance creativity and innovation, stimulating fresh thinking and more collaborative problem-solving.
That's a compelling case for its benefits, highlighting everything from individual cognitive function to team dynamics. But it needs to be more than just a nice idea or a fleeting trend, right? What are the best practices for actually implementing such programs successfully? And crucially, how do we measure their actual tangible impact to ensure they're truly making a difference?
Indeed. Successful implementation requires careful planning and a strategic approach. First, you need to assess the specific needs of your employees through surveys or focus groups to tailor the program to their unique stressors and preferences. A one-size-fits-all approach rarely works.
Gotta know your audience.
Precisely. Second, secure leadership support. When top management actively participates in and advocates for mindfulness, it sets a powerful example and significantly encourages wider employee engagement. It signals that this is a truly valued initiative, not just an add-on.
Leadership buy-in is key.
Crucial. Third, develop a comprehensive plan that clearly outlines the goals, structure, and components of the program. This includes determining the types of practices offered, whether it's guided meditation sessions, breathing exercises, or mindful movement breaks their frequency, and the resources required, such as trained instructors or access to mindfulness apps.
Plan it out properly.
Fourth, you must provide ample training and resources to equip employees with the knowledge and tools they need to engage effectively. This can include workshops, online resources, and libraries of guided meditations that employees can access at their convenience.
Give people the tools.
Fifth, create a supportive environment. This means designating quiet, accessible spaces for practice and integrating mindfulness concepts into team meetings or daily routines while fostering open discussions about mental health and encouraging peer support.
Make it part of the culture.
Exactly. And finally, and crucially, you must monitor and evaluate progress. This means systematically collecting participant feedback and tracking key performance indicators.
Measure the results. How?
For instance, you can use standardized assessments like the Perceived Stress Scale, PSS, or the Generalized Anxiety Disorder, G87 questionnaire. These are widely used clinical tools for measuring an individual's perceived stress and anxiety levels to quantify changes in stress levels and overall mental health before and after the program.
Okay, using real metrics.
Yes. You should also monitor traditional HR KPIs related to productivity, such as task completion rates and error rates, and health-related metrics like the number of sick days taken and employee retention rates. Collecting success stories and testimonials from employees who have experienced positive changes through mindfulness can also provide powerful qualitative evidence of the program's impact.
The human stories matter too.
Absolutely. It further demonstrates its value and builds a strong case for continued investment in these vital initiatives. This comprehensive approach ensures that mindfulness programs are not just implemented, but are effective, sustainable, and truly integrated into the corporate culture, leading to demonstrable improvements.
Designing for attention user-centric digital interfaces.
Now, let's try to imagine someone else, completely different from Anya, but grappling with this similar kind of digital overload. Let's try to imagine someone else. Picture Jinwoo, a bright university student in Seoul.
Okay, Jinwoo in Seoul.
He's incredibly smart, he's highly motivated, but he's really struggling. His entire education is conducted through this bewildering maze of digital interfaces. He watches lectures on one platform, submits homework on another, collaborates with classmates on a third, and receives official university announcements on yet a fourth.
Oh, wow. Platform juggling?
Totally. Yeah. By noon, he often feels intellectually exhausted, but not from the content itself. He hasn't even gotten to the hard part of his calculus homework yet. He starts to internalize this, thinking he's just not cut out for this academic rigor, that he's burning out from the sheer effort of learning.
Blaming himself for the system's flaws.
Exactly. But then, almost by chance, he stumbles upon some neuroscience research that explains a concept we discussed earlier. The profound fatigue he's feeling isn't primarily from his brain working harder on his studies. Remember, the energy used for that is surprisingly minimal.
Right, that 5% uptick.
The real cognitive cost, the insidious source of the drain, is the constant task switching. It's the mental energy burned just by navigating between all those poorly designed, non-integrated platforms, each with its own quirks and demands on his attention.
Ah, the platform switching costs.
That realization changed everything for him. It wasn't a personal failure of his intellect or work ethic. It was a fundamental design failure. He started structuring his day differently, creating these informal interface blocks. 2 hours dedicated only to the lecture platform, 1 hour only for the homework portal.
A workaround born of necessity.
It was a workaround, yeah, not a seamless solution, but it stopped the critical leak in his mental energy. When I look at a story like Jinwoo's, it's not just a poignant personal struggle. It's a powerful indictment of our broader approach to technology in critical areas like education.
It absolutely is. This raises an important question. Why aren't we designing technology with our brains fundamentally in mind, especially in such critical, high-stakes areas like education?
Right. That seems obvious, but
Jinwoo's story is a powerful, real-world example of how our current digital interfaces can actively work against our cognitive well-being. Given the immense cognitive cost of task switching, as neuroscience clearly demonstrates, we should be fundamentally rethinking how digital interfaces are designed across the board.
rethinking from the ground up.
We ought to be designing user-centric digital campuses and other platforms that inherently reduce cognitive load, ensuring that a student's precious mental energy is spent on learning and critical thinking, on true engagement with the material, not on fighting or navigating between poorly integrated technologies. It's about ensuring our tools truly serve our brains, not deplete them.
That's where the cutting-edge concept of neurodesign comes in. It's a fascinating field that applies insights from cognitive psychology and neuroscience directly to the creation of digital interfaces, aiming to make them not only intuitive, but truly delightful to use.
Delightful interfaces. I like the sound of that.
It operates on a deceptively simple, yet profoundly powerful core principle. Design doesn't happen on a screen, it happens in the user's brain. It's about understanding how our minds naturally process information, make decisions, and experience emotions, and then crafting digital experiences that align seamlessly with those innate human mechanisms.
Taking the guesswork out of UX.
Pretty much, it's taking the guesswork out of user experience by understanding the underlying neural architecture.
That's a perfect encapsulation. What's fascinating here is how neurodesign translates these deep brain principles into concrete, actionable design practices that make a real difference to cognitive load. Let's look at some of the core principles.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, there's the principle that the brain is lazy, in a good way. Our brains are hardwired to conserve energy, meaning people will almost always gravitate towards the path of least resistance.
The lazy brain. Relatable.
Haha, totally. If a user interface is too complex, too cluttered, or overloaded with too many choices, the brain instinctively says, nope, too much effort, and a user will either get frustrated or simply disengage. This universal tendency is perfectly captured by Hick's law, which states that the more choices you offer a user, the longer it will take them to make a decision, and the higher the cognitive burden.
More choices is more effort.
Exactly. Think about Google's homepage. It's just a logo and a search bar. That's no accident. It's a masterclass in reducing cognitive load. As designers, this means we should always prioritize primary actions, keep forms as short and focused as possible, and ruthlessly remove any elements that don't serve a clear, immediate purpose. Simplicity is brain-friendly.
Keep it simple. Got it. What's next?
Second, consider this. People see before they think. This means that design is processed emotionally, intuitively, and unconsciously before it's processed logically or rationally. Elements like color palettes, overall layout, and even subtle animations can instantly shape a user's trust and feeling about an interface within just the first few seconds.
Feeling first, logic second.
Right. As the seminal book, Neuroweb Design, so aptly puts it, we don't make logical decisions. We make emotional ones and then justify them logically.
That rings true.
Take a look at Duolingo as an example. It's friendly, inviting illustrations, fun, playful tone, and small, immediate rewards, like a little ding for a correct answer, feel like a brain pat on the back, effectively lowering the emotional barrier to learning a new, often intimidating language.
Making it feel good to use.
Precisely. Designers should leverage this by using warm, friendly language in their copy, making onboarding feel like gentle hand-holding rather than a daunting quiz, and adding subtle, reassuring motion like Apple's iOS bounces and fades to make actions feel responsive and trustworthy.
Okay, emotional design. Makes sense. Principle 3.
Third, a principle that simplifies everything. Familiarity feels good. Our brains absolutely love patterns and predictability. When users encounter something they recognize and are already familiar with, they immediately feel safer, more competent, and more in control.
Don't make me think or relearn.
Exactly. This is the essence of Jacob's Law, which reminds us that users spend most of their time on other websites and apps, so they naturally expect your product to work in similar, familiar ways. Think about it. Instagram's bottom tab bar for navigation, Amazon's ubiquitous shopping cart icon, or Gmail's compose button, they all follow common visual metaphors and interaction patterns that significantly reduce learning curves.
Stick to conventions.
Generally, yes. The advice here is clear. Follow native platform conventions, use common, universally understood icons and terms, and avoid unnecessary reinvention unless there's an incredibly strong user-validated reason to do so. Don't force your users to learn a whole new language if they don't have to.
Okay, familiarity. What else?
Fourth, and critically important for preventing frustration, memory is short. Cognitive science consistently shows that our working memory, the mental workbench where we process information, can only effectively hold about 4 distinct items at a time before things start to get fuzzy.
Only 4 things.
Wow. Yeah, it's surprisingly limited. If your app relies on users remembering instructions from one screen to the next or recalling information they saw moments ago, you're inevitably setting them up to fail. This is closely linked to Miller's Law, which suggests the average person can only reliably keep about 7 ± 2 items in their short-term memory at any given time.
So designed for forgetfulness.
In a way, yes. A real-world design failure. Think of a complex online form that only shows error messages after you hit submit, forcing you to remember what field had which issue and scroll back up. A true memory nightmare.
Oh, hate those forms.
Right. So designers should break complex tasks into small, manageable, bite-sized steps, like Airbnb's step-by-step host setup process. They should use inline validations that give immediate feedback as a user types, and always keep labels close to inputs so users don't have to scroll or guess what information is needed where.
Make it easy to remember or not need to remember.
Exactly. And finally, perhaps the most fundamental principle for building trust, feedback, safety. Our brain is constantly asking, did that work? Is the system responding? Am I still in control?
Constant checking.
If the user interface doesn't respond immediately or clearly to input, users feel uncertain, anxious, and quickly frustrated, even if everything is working perfectly in the background. This is the feedback loop principle. Take Slack, for example. When you send a message, it clearly shows a sending animation and then a check mark when the message goes through. This constant, clear feedback builds trust, especially in fast-moving conversations.
Reassurance that it worked.
Precisely. Designers should always show clear loading states, provide immediate success or error messages, allow users to undo actions like Gmail's brilliant undo send feature, which is a real sanity saver, and animate transitions smoothly to clearly signal the system's status. These principles, when applied thoughtfully and consistently, create experiences that feel effortless and intuitive because they work with our brains, not against them, respecting our natural cognitive limitations and preferences.
Those neurodesign principles are truly game-changing for creating intuitive, brain-friendly experiences. But what if we took an even more proactive approach to design, right from the very start, specifically to combat the negative impacts of digital technology on our attention? This is where a fascinating proposed design solution called attention mode comes into play.
Attention mode. Tell me more.
It's designed to minimize the negative impacts of digital technology on our attention by creating user interfaces that are inherently easy to understand and navigate, almost building focus into the technology itself, rather than it being an afterthought or a feature you have to hunt for.
Exactly. This raises an important question. Can we literally bake attention support directly into the software, making it a default, seamless part of the user experience? Attention mode is a unified, single-step solution that aims to do just that, contrasting sharply with existing features like focus modes or ad blockers, which often require multiple steps, are scattered across different settings menus and feel like afterthoughts.
So more integrated than current focus modes.
That's the idea. Attention mode is intended to be integrated directly and prominently into the user interface of an application. It functions through a single, clearly visible attention button placed in a suitable, intuitive location on the UI. When interacted with, this button displays quick sub-options, allowing users to select between two different levels of attention.
Okay, 2 levels. What do they do?
Level 1, for instance, focuses on hiding irrelevant visual distractions, such as recommended articles, distracting sidebars, or advertisements. It just cleans up the visual landscape.
Decluttering.
Right. Level 2 takes it a significant step further, eliminating all distractions, including not only visual clutter, but also notifications, and even restricting the ability to switch to other applications from within that focused mode.
Wow, like a digital lockdown for focus.
Pretty much. The mode activates instantly upon selection, providing immediate relief from cognitive overload. This thoughtful design helps users allocate their attention more effectively, significantly reduces attention lapses, and actively decreases multitasking behavior.
This sounds powerful.
It's been tested on various platforms, including news websites, ebooks, and video streaming apps, demonstrating its universal applicability in helping users concentrate on the main content without the constant battle against distracting elements. The fundamental goal here is to make it genuinely effortless for users to focus by embedding powerful distraction mitigation directly into the experience, not as an optional add-on, but as a core design principle.
Making focus the easy choice. I love that.
The wider digital well-being landscape, society, family, and future.
Finally, as I continued exploring this landscape of digital overwhelm, I heard a story that really brought it all home. Finally, I heard a story about a man named Marcus.
Okay.
Marcus in Chicago. He was a classic gig economy worker, a freelance writer, which meant his attention was quite literally his product, his livelihood.
Attention as currency.
Totally. He spent his days relentlessly chasing algorithms, tweaking his professional profiles on various platforms, bidding on jobs across multiple sites, maintaining an active, always-on presence on social media to attract clients, and instantly responding to every single message, terrified a potential gig would vanish if he wasn't lightning fast.
The freelancer hustle. Intense.
He described his life as a state of continuous partial attention. He was never truly focused on any one thing, but also never truly resting. He felt exhausted to his bones, a profound, widespread epidemic of our time. He wasn't just tired, he felt frayed, as if his very consciousness had been shredded into 1,000 tiny pieces.
That sounds incredibly draining, soul-crushing almost.
It really did. The breaking point for him was surprisingly simple. He forgot his own sister's birthday.
Ouch, that hits home.
It was a wake-up call. The solution, he said, came from a public health podcast promoting behavioral interventions. It sounded clinical, but the advice was remarkably simple and actionable. Create a hard boundary to end your workday. He called it his shutdown ritual.
A shutdown ritual, and I like that.
At 6 p.m. every single day, no exceptions, he would literally close every single work-related tab on his computer. He'd meticulously write down his plan for the next day on a physical piece of paper, completely disconnecting from screens. Then he'd put his phone in a drawer in his bedroom and go for a walk. Just him and the quiet evening air.
Simple, but requires discipline.
Definitely. The first few days, he confessed, were torture, like a phantom limb syndrome for his phone, a constant urge to check, to scroll.
The withdrawal.
But soon, that 6:00 p.m. ritual became a sacred, non-negotiable moment. It was the signal to his brain that the hunt was over for the day. He could finally truly be off. And the amazing side effect. His focus during work hours improved dramatically because he knew it had a clear, defined endpoint.
The boundary created better focus within the boundary.
Exactly. Stories like Marcus's show us the personal front line in the battle against the attention economy. While we absolutely need big, systemic changes, these small, scalable behavioral shifts are a powerful, everyday form of resistance.
That's a crucial insight. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Marcus's experience profoundly underscores that while we talk a lot about big tech, corporate responsibility, and systemic solutions, these personal behavioral interventions, however small or seemingly simple they seem, are an incredibly powerful form of resistance against cognitive overload.
Resistance, yeah.
His shutdown ritual is, in essence, a public health initiative of one. It's a daily declaration that our attention and our peace of mind are not infinitely for sale, and that reclaiming genuine energy starts with deliberate, consistent boundaries. It demonstrates that highly scalable behavioral shifts, repeated consistently, can effectively push back against the constant demands of the attention economy and significantly improve individual well-being.
Taking back control.
It's about taking back control of your own mental landscape.
Absolutely, taking back control. Marcus's story also touches on a really important concept known as the dual sphere paradox. It's this pervasive idea that we often perceive our online and offline worlds as entirely separate entities, almost like two distinct universes.
Mm-hmm. The online versus real life thing.
Yeah, even though, especially now, they are increasingly merging and bleeding into one another. Our actions and experiences in one sphere have direct, tangible consequences in the other. Whether it's the mental fatigue from constant digital work spilling into our personal lives and family interactions, or online behaviors profoundly affecting our real-world relationship.
The lines are definitely blurring.
This perceived separation, while sometimes a convenient distinction, really needs to be deconstructed and understood as our digital lives become more and more seamlessly integrated into every facet of our existence. We can't simply compartmentalize the impact.
It's true, the lines are blurring and often disappearing entirely. What's fascinating here is how frameworks like the European Digital Competence Framework for Citizens, or DIGCOMP, directly address this very merging of worlds and the critical concept of digital well-being.
DIGCOMP, what does it say?
DIGCOMP views digital health and well-being through three distinct yet deeply interconnected angles. Firstly, it's about avoiding risks and threats to both our physical and psychological well-being when we engage with digital tools. This is a more passive, protective stance, focusing on cybersecurity, data privacy, and safe online environments.
Basic safety online.
Right. Secondly, and more proactively, it considers the protection of not only oneself but also others, explicitly referencing cyberbullying as a key example where digital competence is vital for intervention and support.
Protecting others too.
Mm-hmm. Thirdly, and very importantly, it acknowledges and actively promotes the positive potential of digital technologies in advancing social well-being and genuine social inclusion.
Ah, the positive side. That's important.
This third point is absolutely crucial, as often the public discourse around digital well-being can be overwhelmingly negative, almost demonizing digital technologies as solely harmful, a source of all evil. Without recognizing and actively harnessing the positive potential for connection, learning, creativity, and community, we risk creating unnecessary fears and barriers that prevent individuals from developing essential digital competences and engaging with solutions that could genuinely improve their lives.
We need the balance.
It's about finding that vital balance between safeguarding ourselves and others and empowering everyone to leverage technology for good.
That balance is key. And when we really delve into the challenges, beyond just the general fatigue, we see how complex this all gets, with significant issues that directly impact our digital well-being. One major challenge, which is increasingly recognized, is digital addictions.
Yeah, that's a big one.
These manifest as a profound loss of control over one's digital use, dysfunctional mood regulation, where digital interaction becomes the primary way to cope with emotions, and even withdrawal symptoms when offline. These addictions are powerfully fueled by the instant gratification, the sheer ease of access, and the constant supply of novel stimulation that digital environments so effortlessly offer.
The dopamine loop on overdrive.
Exactly. Then there are manipulative UX techniques. It's a stark reality that, driven by profit motives and the intense competition to gain and retain users' attention, many digital platforms employ subtle and not so subtle techniques that can be deeply manipulative, harmful, and negatively impact our well-being.
Dark patterns and addictive design.
Right. This highlights the critical need for users to develop a high level of digital competence, the ability to recognize these methods, understand their intent, and proactively safeguard against their more insidious effects.
We need to be savvy consumers of technology.
Think about health apps, too. They present a classic duality. On one hand, they can be incredibly beneficial, genuinely supporting healthy behaviors by measuring and analyzing metrics related to health and well-being, promoting self-awareness, and increasing motivation for positive change.
The potential is huge.
But on the other hand, due to lax oversight and licensing requirements compared to other medical services, these tools can also give inappropriate, even harmful advice, or promote dangerously idealized body images, particularly to vulnerable users.
A double-edged sword there.
Definitely. Cyberbullying and online disinhibition are also significant and deeply damaging concerns. Bullying enabled by digital tools takes advantage of constant access, the perceived anonymity that a screen can provide, and the rapid dissemination of hurtful content.
Amplified cruelty.
This is exacerbated by what's known as the online disinhibition effect, where users behave online in ways they would never in face-to-face settings. They might unconsciously dissociate from the potential hurt caused to others because of the absence of crucial nonverbal cues, like facial expressions, tone of voice, or body language.
Losing empathy behind the screen.
Which can also lead to widespread miscommunication and escalating offensive language. This amplification effect disproportionately impacts vulnerable groups who already face discrimination offline, drastically increasing their exposure to hate speech and abuse in digital spaces.
Making the online world even tougher for some.
And finally, there's the critical issue of digital inequality and vulnerable groups. A fundamental lack of digital skills and limited access to reliable internet and devices can significantly increase social exclusion, particularly for vulnerable youth from low socioeconomic backgrounds.
The digital divide is still very real.
When negative offline experiences are prevalent, these young people might understandably seek dopamine moments online as an escape, and their parents may tragically lack the digital skills or resources to protect them from potential threats or guide them towards healthier online habits. It's a complex, interconnected web of challenges that demands a multifaceted approach.
It really is complex. Those are indeed significant societal challenges. This raises an important question. How can we, as a society, and especially within families, foster healthier digital habits across generations, moving towards genuine digital well-being?
Yeah, what can families actually do?
Neuropsychiatrist Theo Campanale introduces the compelling concept of digital freedom as the true opposite of digital addiction. For a child, digital freedom means having the innate ability to truly disconnect from screens, both physically and psychologically, for long periods at a time.
Digital freedom, I like that framing.
It means the child is genuinely master of their attention, autonomously deciding when, for what purpose, where, and for how long to use digital devices. Campanale suggests that without this digital freedom, a child risks developing what he colorfully calls a chunky brain, a brain that struggles to focus, is less creative, and ultimately less happy.
A chunky brain.
Yeah.
Vivid.
We also need to fundamentally understand the difference between mini versus maxi dopamine moments. Digital apps are meticulously designed to create frequent, fleeting dopamine spikes through instant likes, new followers, or rapid-fire instant messages. These offer small, immediate sparks of happiness.
The quick hits.
Right. But these mini dopamine hits don't and can't lead to a long-lasting, deep sense of happiness or fulfillment. Instead, we should actively encourage alternatives that foster deeper, more enduring satisfaction, like a family karaoke night filled with laughter, a spine-tingling horror storytelling session around a fire pit, or a truly engaging board game that requires sustained attention and interaction.
Real-world, deeper engagement.
Scheduling these more rewarding activities can powerfully help children and adults alike choose these more enduring sources of happiness over the fleeting digital rushes.
Okay, prioritize the maxi dopamine.
Yeah. For practical habits in daily life, parents can make a huge difference by investing in a physical watch and an alarm clock for their children, thereby reducing the dependency on smartphones as the sole time-telling or wake-up device.
Simple but effective. Get rid of the phone excuse.
Exactly. Establishing a clear phone-in-a-box ritual at night where all phones, yes, parents too, are put away in a central location until the next day creates a clear physical boundary for everyone.
The family phone jail.
Something like that. When it comes to parenting for digital autonomy, the goal is not to impose strict, often arbitrary bans that can breed resentment, but to educate children towards self-governance and responsible choice. Parents and children should agree on screen time together, transparently calculating it based on prioritizing essential activities first. Sufficient sleep, school, homework, quality time with friends, and engaging in sports or physical activity.
The priorities come first.
Right. The time left over can then be considered for screens. This approach teaches children to decide for themselves whether a digital device genuinely adds value at that specific moment, fostering critical thinking and self-regulation.
Teaching them how to choose, not just telling them no.
Precisely. It's also vitally important to encourage active versus passive internet use. Making movies, learning to code, creating games, or engaging in other creative, constructive activities online is far more beneficial and cognitively stimulating than mindless internet hopping or passive consumption.
Be creators, not just consumers.
Which can easily lead to addiction and attention decay. Research, disturbingly, shows that only 3% of children are consistently active and creative on the internet, yet this is where the most profound learning and development occurs.
Only 3%, that's low.
It is. When communicating online, the principle of nonviolent online communication is absolutely vital. Do not say or do anything on the internet that you would not say or do in real life. The inherent absence of nonverbal cues online means words can be easily misinterpreted or cause unintended hurt, escalating situations rapidly.
The golden rule, apply it online.
We must actively teach children to pause and think before they type, and to apply the same rule to nonverbal online activities. If you wouldn't do it in public in real life, don't do it online.
Think before you click or type.
And crucially, embracing boredom is essential for cognitive health. Being bored is not a problem to be solved. It is a moment's rest for your brain.
Boredom is good.
It really is. Instead of immediately handing over a screen or reaching for one ourselves during downtime, we should encourage children and ourselves to simply look around, observe, enjoy, and use their senses. What do you hear, see, smell? These quiet moments allow the brain to process, consolidate, and register pleasant memories that can be recalled later, unlike the fleeting, quickly forgotten memories of simply taking a picture or scrolling through a feed.
Let the brain just be.
Teach your children and remind yourself to observe and genuinely engage with their surroundings without the immediate distraction of a screen.
Okay, what about screen time limits? People always ask about those.
Right. Regarding screen time guidelines, while a focus on overall digital balance is arguably more important than rigid screen time limits, general figures can certainly be helpful as a starting point.
Okay, give us the numbers.
For children up to 2 years, ideally no screen time, or a maximum of 5 minutes per day, limited to video calls with family. For 4 years, 30 minutes, preferably broken into 2 15-minute blocks. For 8 years, 1 hour, preferably in 4 15-minute blocks to encourage breaks and varied activity.
Yeah.
For 10 years, 1 hour, 30 minutes. For 12 years, 2 hours. And for over 12 years, 3 hours. The emphasis should always be on quality of content and context of use. Ensure children move, engage in imaginative play, connect with others in person, and that screen time is as active and creative as possible. Remember, digital balance is more important than just screen time numbers.
Balance over raw minutes. Got it. What about FOMO?
Addressing FOMO, the fear of missing out, is also key to digital well-being. FOMO is intimately linked to basic psychological needs like connectedness, competence, and autonomy. If individuals, especially teenagers, feel insecure, inferior, or lacking in social connections offline, they are far more prone to FOMO.
So it's linked to deeper insecurities.
Often, yes. Actively working on building self-confidence, fostering genuine connections, and developing a strong sense of self-worth can powerfully help combat this pervasive anxiety. And finally, role modeling by parents is paramount.
Walk the talk.
Absolutely. Children are incredibly observant. They often notice and emulate parents' phone use far more than they listen to strict rules. So choosing digital-free moments for ourselves and genuinely enjoying them sets a powerful living example for our children.
Okay, so these are great family strategies. What about that single tasking idea from earlier? How does that fit in for everyone?
Right. To bring this all together, the single tasking solution we discussed earlier is truly the antidote to attention fatigue, applicable to everyone regardless of age or profession. Establish a morning protocol. Dedicate the first 20 minutes of your day to doing just one thing before touching any digital device.
Like the mindful tea.
Exactly. Maybe mindfully enjoying a cup of green tea, reading a physical book, or simply sitting in quiet contemplation. During your workday, commit to strict work blocks. These should be 90-minute focused sessions with specific outcomes, your phone on airplane mode, only one application open, no exceptions, no quick checks.
Deep work blocks.
Implement transition rituals between these blocks. Take 10-15 minutes of complete disengagement, a brisk walk, some stretching, or quiet time with absolutely no digital inputs, letting your brain truly reset. And create an evening boundary by physically ending your workday with a ritual, perhaps writing down 3 specific things you accomplished that day to create a sense of closure and prevent mental spillover into your rest time.
The shutdown ritual again.
Exactly. If you suspect you're suffering from attention fatigue rather than true physical tiredness, I'd highly recommend trying this depth prescription to reclaim your energy and focus.
Ooh, a prescription. What is it?
Week 1, awareness. This is about becoming an observer of your own mind. Track your attention patterns. Every time you feel tired or overwhelmed, pause and note what you were doing in the previous 30 minutes. This will help you identify your personal digital triggers and attention leaks.
Just notice first.
Week 2, boundaries. Now take action. Create 3 2-hour blocks in your week where you do exactly one thing with no exceptions, no quick checks of your phone, no background inputs like music with lyrics. This is dedicated, singular focus time.
Practice single tasking.
Week 3, integration. Expand single tasking to your mundane activities. Eat meals without screens present. Take walks without a podcast or music. Have conversations with friends or family where all phones are put away. It's about being truly present.
Bring it into everyday life.
Week 4, calibration. Notice the profound difference between your tired, fragmented days and your more focused, energized days. Adjust your schedule and habits to consistently prioritize depth over breadth, focus over fragmentation. This intentional journey will help you reclaim the incredible energy that's simply being drained by 1,000 tiny attention leaks.
Awareness, boundaries, integration, calibration. I like that framework.
Yeah.
That brings us to the broader efforts on a societal level, acknowledging that this isn't just about individual habits or even corporate policies, but about the bigger picture of digital rights and responsibilities. Initiatives like the Catalan Charter of Digital Rights and Responsibilities aim to establish clear regulations and contribute to a global debate, explicitly protecting vulnerable groups and promoting digital competence for all citizens.
Policy matters too.
It really frames digital well-being as a collective responsibility, something society as a whole must address.
Precisely. And if we connect this to the broader picture of research and policy, studies exploring interventions to enhance sustained attention in children and adolescents offer valuable, albeit early, insights, while cognitive attention training, basically, brain games or exercises specifically designed to improve focus did not reliably or consistently improve sustained attention in many studies.
So brain games don't really work for focus.
The evidence isn't strong for sustained attention, no, but other approaches showed more potential. Physical activity and meditation interventions demonstrated somewhat more promising effects, though researchers note these findings are preliminary and need more rigorous replication to be conclusive.
Movement and meditation seem better.
It's also particularly important to note that mindfulness training, a specific subset of meditation interventions, has shown rather consistent positive effects on selective attention, meaning the crucial ability to focus on one thing while actively ignoring irrelevant distractions.
Mindfulness for selective attention. That makes sense with what we've discussed.
Right. Highly relevant to our discussion of digital overload. Ultimately, these findings powerfully reinforce the imperative for broad, inclusive digital competence development for everyone, not just individual citizens, but also the providers of digital solutions, the managers who implement them, educators who teach with them, and policymakers who regulate them.
Everyone needs digital competence.
It's only when everyone is equipped with at least a foundational understanding and practical digital competences that we can adequately safeguard and genuinely improve our health and well-being in these increasingly pervasive digital settings. The decision to use or design digital tools should always consider their effect on users' well-being as a primary consideration, emphasizing that it's the application and thoughtful use of technology that ultimately defines its impact, not merely the technology itself.
So what does all of this mean for you, our listener? It means that the overwhelming feeling we often label as tiredness is, more often than not, a profound misdiagnosis.
The great misdiagnosis.
It's not necessarily a simple lack of physical energy or sleep, but rather a pervasive fragmentation and attention fatigue caused by the relentless cognitive chaos of our digitally saturated world. The exhaustion isn't a sign that our brain is empty, running on fumes. It's a sign that it's simply too full, trying to run a dozen different demanding programs all at once, constantly switching, constantly incurring that hidden cost.
Too full, not empty.
Exactly. The true cure isn't necessarily just more rest, though rest is vital. It's a profound shift towards intentionality, structure, and depth in how we engage with technology and, by extension, how we live our lives.
This is a powerful and incredibly liberating conclusion. It underscores that the solutions to this modern exhaustion epidemic span a wide spectrum, from simple, immediate actions like Anya's 2-minute breathing exercises and Marcus's disciplined personal habits like his shutdown ritual,
The small shift.
to more systemic changes like thoughtful, brain-friendly interface design and broader policy considerations for digital rights and wellness. The truly liberating realization is that the energy we need isn't something we have to find or generate from scratch. It's been there all along, simply being drained by 1,000 tiny attention leaks.
Plugging the leaks.
By becoming intentional, by giving our magnificent brains the profound gift of singular focus, that pervasive exhaustion lifts, the overwhelm fades, and we can remember what it truly feels like to be genuinely energized, not drained by our own lives.